Everybody, today's episode on my show is going to be about fall camp news for both Florida State and Alabama. For Florida State, I'm going to be up until the end of the second week, and for the third week, I'm going to do a little bit more research, do a little bit more studying, and come back with another video later on. And for Alabama, it's a little bit of this week since I already hit on first and second week. I realized I hadn't really brought in a lot of Florida State content in the last few videos, so I want to make sure I get some of that and also just prepare myself for what to expect from their team. So first I'm going to talk about Florida State up until the second week, and then I'm going to do Alabama right afterwards. So sit down and get ready to enjoy. Now, for Florida State, for their fall camp, they've gone up into, they're in their third week now, but they had their first scrimmage on Sunday night. And they missed a few players. There's a lot of players who did not play in the game due to like nagging injuries or little things that they want to watch out for. And that was Cole Minshew, who's starting guard, Nate Andrews, who's probably the starting strong safety, linebacker Dontavius Jackson, who's a sophomore. He'll be behind the two starting guys, which is Matthew Thomas and Roderick Johnson, I believe. DJ Matthews, who's a freshman wide receiver, and Jalen Parks, who is a reserve defensive tackle. All of them did not play in the scrimmage on Sunday, before I go there. Also, Matthew Thomas is still absent from practice, so I've heard, at least up until the second week, like I said. I'll have to see regarding this week. But he was absent from practice. I believe he also was dealing with something. Not sure yet. But Fisher did say that everyone who didn't practice in that second week, they should be good to go by this week. So when I do my research for this week, I'm expecting to see their names back in here. And if not, that could be troubling because you don't want injury to your offensive lineman, which they struggled last year. You don't want an injury to Nate Andrews, who's probably your most experienced safety. Don't want an injury to DJ Matthews because he's one of the 6 wide receivers that they have left that are scholarship, only 6 scholarship receivers. So you don't want to lose him. So that's interesting. Speaking of the receivers, actually, for Florida State, the top 3 wide receivers in practice were all in a non-contact jersey. The top 3 wide receivers are Nyquan Murray, who will most likely be the slot guy, Alden Tate, who will be one of the outside receivers, and Keith Gavin, who will be one of the outside receivers. At least that's how I see it. I think it makes sense to put Nyquan Murray in the slot and Tate and Gavin on the outside. And Gavin's been getting a lot of buzz during the fall camp. Now, I'm wondering if it's intentional, as in, it's not injury related. I wonder if he's keeping them non-contact to protect themselves. Like I said, they only have 6 scholarship receivers. And if DJ Matthews is dealing with a little nagging injury, they don't want their players to get hurt. So Fisher's kind of limiting their reps. And there's something else in here later on that will kind of give credence to that. As a matter of fact, I'll talk about it right after I finish this. I think Fisher wants to make sure they don't take too many hits so that they don't get injured, lessening of the load on the receivers so that they can basically increase their chances of having injury luck this season. They don't want to get injured at wide receiver at all. That's just a pure numbers game. They cannot afford to get injuries at wide receiver. Or worst case scenario for this situation of why they're wearing non-contact jerseys is that they are injured and he doesn't want them to get hurt anymore, which would be really bad because, like I said, you don't want any injuries at all for the Florida State receiving corps. That's just the truth. So Fisher allowed them to be thudded, as in like he allowed the people to make contact with them, but not tackled. Well, honestly, it's just a smart decision by Fisher to do so. I mean, if you need to protect your limited numbers, you need to do that. It's a smart decision. I like it, actually. And what gives credence to this idea of him just protecting them instead of them being injured is that he admitted that he may have been too intense in the springtime, during the spring scrimmage and spring practice. So now he's trying to tone it down a bit, and he wants his players to kind of get a little bit more rest, protect themselves from injury. Like I said, you want to avoid injury, so he's limiting reps to certain players, even players like Josh Sweat, a few other guys who are dealing with ankle and knee ligament issues. He wants to get them enough reps to be in on the know, but not too many to where they can re-injure themselves. So he's trying to be smart here. Like I said, you respect that from a coach who's looking out for his players, or at the very least looking out for his best chance to win. You never know. All that kind of comes together at some point. So I was gonna make a point here. It'll probably come back to me, but I'll leave that alone for now. But just letting you know that Fisher is trying to look out for his players, and in a sense of I don't want them to get injured right now. Also, here what? Oh, yeah, here it is. The freshman linebacker Leonard Warner has been impressing in practice. He came away from the scrimmage. A lot of people really like what they saw from him. Also, the freshman safety Hamza Nisariuddin also really impressed Jimbo Fisher. Fisher actually specifically stated things about him to the media. He said he can do it all. He can play the run. He can play the pass. He can cover guys. He can cover big and small guys. He said, "Tell me something about him that you don't like." That's a high praise for a freshman. So Nisaridi might find himself pretty high on the depth chart this year. Who knows? Either that or they're going to save him. Either way, something to look out for. Also, just a little small things here toward the end. Uh, Keith Gavin was at first string kickoff return, along with uh, Derwin James. So those would be the two guys you expect to see returning kicks for Florida State this year. Also very talented and fast guys too. And Tavares McFadden, starting boundary corner, is punt returner. And just to end this off, just going to talk about Brian Burns a little bit. Brian Burns has been working this offseason to get better against the run because he struggled to set the edge last season because of his size. He was only 218 pounds. But he's bulked up, put on some good weight according to some of the media guys. And he's worked on his technique with Bert Defini and Coach Brad Lawing to make sure that he's stacking up against the run well. So that's Florida State's practice up until the second week. Like I said, we'll get into the third week maybe a little bit later on in the week on another video. But that's it for them right now. Florida State fans, let me know what you think about this. What do you think about your wide receiver information? Wide receiver situation. Uh, are you concerned, or do you feel like, oh, we're fine, we're gonna make it? Let me know. I love dialogue with you about that. Also, if you know what's going on with Matthew Thomas, you can comment that in the bottom too so that I can be aware. But thank you. Now going into Alabama's practice for this week, we at least as of Wednesday's practice, which yesterday, time of this video. Well, it won't be yesterday at the time of this video. It'll be 2 days from the time of this video. Damian Harris leads the running back line, and I say as he should because a lot of people don't realize this. They talked about Bo Scarborough because he got the spotlight toward the end of the year, but it's because Damian and Jacobs, they were a little injured. But Damian Harris actually led the team in rushing yards. He was over 1,000 yards rushing. He only had 2 touchdowns, though. He would have had more if he had finished a lot more runs, like down the field. He had plenty of runs where he's running down the field and he's about to score a touchdown, but he gets caught like within 10 yards of the end zone. But I really love him running. I like his way he picks his holes, and he just really knows how to hit where he needs to go. And he was followed by Bo Jackson. So Bo Jackson was actually second in the line. And because Josh Jacobs is injured, Brian Robinson was third. But Josh Jacobs may be pushing for the second or third spot. He may be the third down back. You never know. But Brian Robinson, I thought, ooh, that was really interesting. Because if you're not aware, I haven't mentioned Najee Harris. Najee Harris is actually fourth in the running back line. So Brian Robinson is really on the staff. But one of the reasons for Harris probably being fourth in the line is that he, too, is dealing with a little bit of a hamstring injury like Josh Jacobs. But he is able to practice. So he was probably just limited, and that may be the reason why he's not ahead of the Robinson on the depth chart right now, or rep chart, as Saban like to call it. And Ronnie Clark replaced Josh Jacobs while he was hurt. So Ronnie Clark played running back for Alabama before, but he moved to H-back in the offseason. But since Jacobs is hurt, they have Ronnie Clark kind of taking his reps so that they don't have to put so much burden on the other backs. Interesting thing also about practice for the Alabama wide receivers is that Jerry Jeudy worked with the slot in practice that day on Wednesday. And so he's usually been the outside receiver in practice, but he's been working in the slot, at least on Wednesday. So they wanted to kind of fit him around here and see what they can do. Also, Henry Ruggs III was playing on the outside, who he has been in the slot this whole time. So they're kind of mixing and matching, letting the freshman receivers kind of get their feet wet at different spots on the offense and seeing what happens with them. So that's really cool. Of course, the three wide receiver lines were still led by Robert Foster at one outside spot, Calvin Ridley at the other outside spot, and Cam Sims at the slot receiver spot. And that combination, that trio, is what I want to see. They're the most experienced guys, and I think they give us the best chance to have an explosive passing game. Like I said, Robert Foster is really, really fast. Calvin Ridley is really fast and good route runner, and Cam Sims is just he's tall, he's long. He also has good speed in that spot. I'm just waiting on him to explode on the scene. I want to see Cam Sims get the ball. And also a good thing is that Derek Keith, who's also another experienced guy who's been here for a while. He's consistently behind Ridley at that X or at the outside receiver spot, which I think is X. I think really does play X. He's consistently behind him, so he's also showing that being in the system long enough, he's also picked the offense and he's ready to contribute as well, which is great. And Xavier Marks, who played a little bit last year, he's a short guy by 5'8", 160, 170. He's the slot guy behind Sims. So I said in the previous video, I like the contrast of Cam Sims and Xavier Marks at the slot position. That really provides a mismatch and just something counter to what the defense can expect when the second string slot receiver comes in. Also, Raekwon Davis and Josh Frazier are still ahead of their competitors on the defensive line on the rep chart. Raekwon Davis is still on that starting weak side defensive end spot. He's getting the top reps there. And Josh Frazier is still top backup to Daron Payne. So they seem to kind of have a little bit of a hold on their positions. And so that's interesting to see the developments for the upcoming weeks. One last thing I thought was really cool that Alabama was working on the dime package, and the first team dime defense. Dime package is when you have 4 DBs, for those who don't know, and 1 linebacker. But they had, let me see. Oh, yeah, on the outside, they had Anthony Averett and Trevon Diggs at cornerback. So Diggs is still working at that cornerback spot, and Tony Brown at the star. Now, well, I said 4 DBs. I meant to say 4 cornerbacks, 6 DBs overall. Um, Fitzpatrick was working at the money spot, which is the 4th cornerback position, that 4th DB who will be covering a receiver or tight end or whatever formations they're going against. So they're experimenting with putting Fitzpatrick at the cornerback spot on the dime. And when they do that, they put Ronnie Harrison at strong safety, which he stays at either way, and Hootie Jones at free safety. I like that because I believe Hootie Jones is really good as that extra defensive back in the 6 DB. And so having him in there is really nice. He'll be able to play over the top with Harrison, and Minkah Fitzpatrick will be able to showcase his skill as a corner by playing a receiver or tight end or whoever he's covering at that spot instead, which is really good. And it probably won't be a tight end because Sean Dion Hamilton is the linebacker who is in at the dime package, which confirms that thing that says he's the best coverage linebacker on our team. And this is a confirmation of that. If you can be the linebacker in the dime package, that means that you are probably the best covering linebacker, which is really funny because that means that he's a better coverage linebacker than Rashaan Evans, even though Rashaan Evans may be faster. But it shows that Sean Dion Hamilton knows to play big really well and knows how to take away a guy in the passing game. So that's it for this video about the fall camp. Alabama fans, let me know what you think about the switching out of the freshman receivers there. Get some work in the other spots. Trying to build some depth here as well, our receiver position. Also, what do you think about the Damian Harris, Bo Scarborough thing? Who do you think should be, I guess, the starting running back? What combination of reps in real games would you like to see? Would you like to see a start with more Damian or start with more Bo and then switch out as the game time goes along? Or however you think about it, let me know in the comment section. Also, what do you think about Minkah Fitzpatrick being the 4th cornerback in the dime package? I like that personally. Tries a little mix up, probably throws the offense off a little bit. I like it a lot. So either way, comment below. I'll see you for the next video, which will probably be about the Alabama wide receivers. Like I said, that's going to be fun. Thanks for paying attention. Everybody, today's episode on my show is going to be about fall camp news for both Florida State and Alabama. For Florida State, I'm going to be up until the end of the 2nd week, and for the 3rd week, I'm doing a little bit more research, do a little bit more studying and come back with another video later on. And for Alabama, is a little bit of this week since I already hit on first and second week. I realized I hadn't really brought in a lot of Florida State content in the last few videos, so I want to make sure I get some of that and also just prepare myself for what to expect from their team. So first I'm going to talk about Florida State up until the second week, and then we'll do Alabama right afterwards. So sit down and get ready to enjoy. Now, for Florida State, for their fall camp, they've gone up into, they're in their third week